Hey, what's up, guys? Somebody on the Arrma forum was looking for a video on how to change out the front bulkhead. Apparently he broke his and was looking for some video. And I need to do a little maintenance on my Notorious. So I normally wouldn't strip down, everything off the bulkhead when I do maintenance, but I figured since I'm going to do this, I might, help somebody out. So first thing I do to get to the bulkhead is I take off the front end. So I'm going to remove the tires. That's what I'll do first. I got some brand new shockwaves on here. All right, so let's get this off. Where is my 2mm? Now, if you have one of the new V4s, you're going to have to disconnect the tower-to-tower brace or the top brace or whatever they call it. This is a V3, so I don't have one. But to get that off, it's real simple. There's just one bolt that goes through in the front and one in the back. And then once you take those two bolts out, you can just slide it straight out, get that out of the way. Or you just, if you're just doing the front, you can just take the front one out and move it out of the way. So you do... what I do next is I take out the underneath screws. So holding the front end on, oh, these are full of dirt. That's great. So let me pull this off here. There are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these two little ones. These are 2.5s. These are 2. Let me get something to dig the dirt out. So these, like I said, are 2.5. Well, that ain't good. Hopefully I didn't strip out the head. Nope. And like I said, those are 2mm. These two little guys right here. This off. All right, we're going to flip it back over. All right, at this point you can go ahead and remove the control steering arms, these turnbuckles, and that's just a, where's my hand one, 2.5. Sometimes you have to hold the bottom screw, which is a 2. Sometimes you get lucky like I just did. Oh man, that one was in there. All right, now we got to take out this, which is 2mm. Holds in the front chassis brace. Oh, that was not very tight. This is why you should go through your trucks and check stuff like this. All right, and now what's going to be holding this on now at this point are just these two right here. So I am going to use a hand tool to remove these. I don't know how tight they are. No, not very tight at all. Again, these are 2.5. Oops. All right, now the front should just pop off. Oh, there you go. All right, this is also a good time to, check on your steering rack if you haven't changed these bushings, the bearings. You can do that. You want to make sure, this is the voltage steering rack right here. that I have on here. I'll make sure that these bearings aren't seized. That feels good. The other ones are still in the bottom here. That feels good. That feels good. I might change that one. You want to make sure that these are nice, you know, see this is loose right here. I mean, so that's going to make slop. This one is loose too, as you can see that. And this one, that just, you know, this is going to make your steering all sorts of sloppy. And you can't really get to these with the front end on, so you know, when you're doing the maintenance, you want to make sure you tighten these down. So we'll do that later. Let's stick to the task at hand here. All right, so now you got your front end. Now basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking everything off the bulkhead here. So I'm going to start by taking the shocks off. I use a 7/32 nut. Oh yeah, that's it. Nut driver to get these off. I don't know what the exact size is, but it's what's always worked for me. I mean, it's a little loose, but it's not like you're cranking these things down. All right, and we're going to take off these two tiny screws down here that hold in the bottom pins. They are 2mm. Again, here, it's this screw right here. I'm sure most people know what I'm talking about. Oops. Pull these pins out. Sometimes they get stuck in there, so you might have to use like a little flathead screwdriver to pry them forward. All right, trying to keep everything together here. All right, now when you go to remove the top here, just make sure you don't lose the ball that's in there, because they get pretty loose pretty quick, and they'll just pop out and hit the floor and disappear into the void. It's happened to me. Like just now, where did it go? Oh, there it is. All right. So also a good time when you're doing this, check your shocks. You know, if you go to push in on them and you feel like if you don't feel the fluid at first and then it hits it, you got air in there, it's a good time to just top them off, check for leaks. These feel really good. Yeah, these feel great. All right, so put these aside. Now you're going to take off. Let me see here. What do we want to take off next? Probably the sway bars. I'm trying to do this without totally disassembling my truck here. And I'm kind of doing it on the fly. So this is a 1.5 little set screw on these to get to disconnect the sway bar. I don't even have it on the back end. It keeps popping off on me. You don't have to loosen it much. Just pull it out of the way. Again, we're just doing it right in the end here. Pull this out like this. Move it off to the side. All right, and now we're just basically looking what is attached to the bulkhead. So we're going to have to take off. I think we're just going to have to strip this stuff off. We're going to take out. So you're going to take out these two right here. Where is my? There it is. 2mm. I think. Side. Check out the front side. It's the same 2mm. These are flathead. The other side are button head. So you don't want to mix them up. Alright. Let's see how we can do this. Go with that. We're going to have to take out these two pins that hold in the upper arms. Those are 2.5. And you want to take note of the spacers that are in these. I don't want to lose them, depending on what you call the front and the back, but there's one, I believe it's one fat one towards the back end, or I guess in this case it would be the front end, since I'm looking at the front of the truck. And then there's two small spacers, so it's one fat one here. Let's see if I can get this up in front of the screen. There's one fat one here, and there's two small ones here. And I also got, I forgot I have the aftermarket towers. I gotta loosen that set screw. So we're gonna pull this out. There's the two thin ones. There's the one. So if you want, you can just, you know, if you to help you remember, when you just put them like this. Over there, we'll do the same with the other side. Pull this out. Move these out of the way. All right, so we're getting there. Now you just got to basically, we're going to take off. Now we can take off this plate right here. 2mm. Right. A lot of times this is where these will break, like right here. You take a good whack on the nose and these will crack. And, or up here, where the this attaches to the shock tower. So let's take, I think my dog just farted. Oh man, she's got the worst smelling farts too. I hope not. I hope that was just a sound. I'll know in a second when it hits me. All right, so now we're gonna take out these two guys right here, 2mm. Oh, there's, let's see, two more down here. My bad. At the bottom. Yeah, this, if you ever do shock towers, this is pretty much what you're going to be doing to replace your shock towers. The only thing that you don't have to do here is you would have to take off the standoffs and the body mount posts, and swap them over to your new beautiful voltage. See if this is bent at all. No, it's straight as an arrow. I mean, I could take the stuff off and lay it flat and see, but these are, you got to work pretty hard to bend the voltage hobby shock towers, I'll tell you that. All right, so now we're down to here. You're going to then take off the cover. Now, if you bought a complete diff from Jenny's RC and you don't care about changing the oil or the bearings, you can pretty much just take your one from Jenny's RC and just slap it in and just reverse everything I just did. But if you don't, let's say you just bought the bulkhead from Tower or whoever, you would be doing this. So, or if you just want to reuse your stuff, you're going to pull your diff out. All right, and then really the last step here is to remove, and I'm sorry guys, I'm not doing this because I know what of a pain in the, I mean, you can already see how mangled the, let me see if I can get this up here. My set screw is, oops, this way. And once that strips out, oh, forget it. So it's still in there good. I have no back and forth play. But what I would do now is I would take this off. I'd have you heat it up with you know, a torch or something to melt the Loctite that's on there. Get this off. You're probably going to have to then punch the pinion out. I use whatever is the right size screwdriver, you know, like a Phillips head, and I stick it right on the back side of the pinion, and boom, I punch that thing out. And then I would change the two bearings. There's one bearing on the inside, and then there's a bearing that's underneath this out drive that sits right there. So I would change those, and I would reassemble this till we get to this point, and then you're just basically, you know, you got your brand new one, and you're going to just reverse everything that we just did. All right, guys, I did end up rebuilding the internals on the diff. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this. A few things to keep in mind. Make sure that you re-grease your diff once you put it in your new bulkhead. I use this stuff. This marine grease stuff works pretty good. The other thing that I did is I replaced all this hardware that goes right here on the steering rack. When you tighten these things down, when your stuff's worn out like this was, they won't move. It'll bind. When you put brand new ones on like I just did, I've got these cranked down, both of these, so that there's no slop in here and they move nice and free. So I had a bunch of this hardware because I bought a bunch of the V3 servo savers, and it came with this whole unit. So I pulled off all the brand new stuff here, and I have it sitting around. So this is the old shit. I'm going to throw it away. It's all worn out. So I did that as well. So this is taken care of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reattach the shock mount. I'm going to make sure it goes on the right way. You want the shocks facing the back here. So we'll put these back in. You never want to crank down hard into plastic. So I just start it, get it most of the way down, and then I'll finish it by hand. Also, another thing that I should mention is these four cap head screws that hold on the back plate here. Do not, whatever you do, blast these things in with an impact driver, because you'll strip them out, and if these are loose or stripped out, when you're running, it'll eventually loosen this up. The diff will pull away, the ring gear will pull away from the pinion, and you'll start stripping teeth, and it'll be a disaster. So you want to be able to, you know, snug these down tight, but don't crank them down. Otherwise, you'll strip them out. Right, and now we're going to put on this brace back here. It is called the front rear, just in case you were wondering. They're marked, and this is a good aftermarket one. If you the voltage one, I don't have it. I have it on my other trucks though, some of them. So this is the one that gets the flathead screws. Again, I'm just gonna hand tighten these. Good. Good. Oh, left side. All right. So you want to make sure the tops are oriented the right way. I put these on like this, and then when I put it all back together, it was not good. So we'll do the, I'm gonna do, I guess we'll do this. We'll pop these bottom ones in. Now it's the top one that gets the spacers. There's no spacers on the bottom. Let's get this one. All right. Now. All right, guys. My battery died, so and I didn't realize it. So you missed a couple of steps here, but I'm going to try to just show you where I got to. So I went ahead and attached this top plate right here, which also contains the front upper brace, which you need in order to secure these pins to hold your upper arms in. So you go ahead and you attach this with these two screws right here. These are 2mm. You get that on there. And then once you got that up there, then you can just go ahead and line up your arms, and you put your pin through. And remember the fat spacer. Oop, that wasn't clicked on there. Fat spacer in the back, two thin ones, or I guess you call this the front, this in the back, however you want to do it. And then you screw this in. This screws into the back brace. If you have the voltage, make sure you tighten up this set screw. You're going to do the same with the other side. And then I don't know, I can't remember if the battery died before or after this, but you got to make sure you got this brace on here down as well. But I'm pretty sure I did that already. So that gets you basically to this being, assembled. So then we're just going to fit it back onto the front of the truck, which is pretty simple. We're going to make sure that you're going to, oh, you know what? I don't think I went over. You got to make sure you reattach your sway bars. They just fit in to the ends here. Don't over tighten these two set screws in here that hold the bar in, otherwise it'll split like I did right here. This one split a little bit. I don't know if you can see this. Let's go ahead and make sure your dog bone goes in. All right. I was saying you can Loctite these if you want. I don't. I just tighten them up. Make sure everything still moves freely. It does. All right. So, oh, let's go do this little guy up here. Where's my... Sure it's lined up. Looks good. All right. Now we just flip it over. All right, this is the Typhon bumper. It comes in a set with the, I want to say ball cups. I'm not really sure, but if you pull up an exploded view and you pull up this part number, you're gonna, and then look it up, you're gonna get the kit of plastic parts it comes with. But it's not expensive. But this is what I use to hold these pins in. All right, like that, like that. You don't want to go too hard on these, because you'll strip them out, and then you'll be replacing your diff housing again. This one might be, oh no, good. And these you want to make sure these are nice and lined up, because I've had issues with these where they've gone in really hard and they've stripped them out. And these are, if you have aftermarket, you're going into metal. It's nice. These are plastic, so again, proceed with care. Do not just blast these things in here. You'll strip them out. That's about as far as I go on those. All right, back over. And go ahead and reconnect this arm. You know what? I'll do this off camera. It's not worth me wasting any more time. All right, so you hook that up. You go ahead and you rehook these two steering arms up. Throw your shocks on. Throw these guys on, and you're done. Everything's replaced. So you really don't need to have me show you that. I mean, if you made it this far, you're in good shape. So that is how you change the diff housing or bulkhead or whatever you want to call it. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in my next video, which will hopefully be me jumping stuff and not doing this. All right, see you next time. Peace.